I'm so glad you're back and tuning in. I'm back with Jim. We had an episode before. If you watched that, you know what it's all about. And Jim decided or was kind enough to agree to come back every 3 weeks and bestow us with his shamanic wisdom because I know him and I know he has so many deep thoughts, and this is what I want to bring out. And before we get into it, just a reminder that The Night Raven is a show of its own, but it's also a network. And it is for like minded people who believe in the power of storytelling and sharing wisdom. So, but once again, today we have Jim, and I'm so glad he is here and he's back. So, thank you, Jim, for another episode in your series.
You bet. Thank you very much for having me back.
Of course. So, we decided on today's topic it is the difference between curing and healing. Um, there's just so much to say about that, but I want to let you get started on this. What are your thoughts about curing and healing?
Um, yeah, so it's actually a really good topic because I think people
Yeah,
maybe get the two mixed, you know.
it 100% yes.
And so when I see clients, a lot of times the expectation is that um, is for them to be cured,
Hmm.
you know.
Cured as far as like physically goes.
Yes, like I don't know, like a miracle cure, like you get some energy
Yeah,
work.
like you take a pill and you're all done.
Yeah, and then like it
Hmm.
it takes it kind of like it would be a blackboard or a chalkboard, and
Hmm.
all the illness or all the unwellness is erased. And
Yeah.
I don't think that's a fair expectation. I mean,
Well, I think it's an expectation that was kind of. I always believe, well, I don't believe, but I see programming like in our society these days. And I think that like all the TV commercials that I see is all about this pill and that pill. So I think we're kind of like expecting it, don't you think, to be just cured by taking a pill?
mhm. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I've seen energy work. Let's say something has an energy an injury to the body. I've seen energy work kind of speed along a natural healing process. Uh, if somebody were to sprain an ankle or get a cut or a broken bone or whatever. I mean, what I see with that is it sort of whatever the body was going to do normally, it will accelerate that, but it it's not for long term or chronic illnesses or I mean, let's face it, as we get older, we age, and
Mm-hmm.
things will happen to us that I think is part of the cycle. Right? I mean, it's part of our life arc.
Yeah.
And I don't think those things can be taken away. I've had clients that have gotten on my table that suffering from terminal illness.
Yeah.
So while I don't think you can't erase the effects of, let's say, leukemia or chronic cancer, or you can't undo that. There's still an opportunity there for healing, right? There's still an opportunity there for harmonizing the body, and because I mean, let's face it, this is our life is a short-term event, right?
Yes,
So
it's a blip in time, really, when it comes to how
right,
old the universe is.
right, and it has to come to an end, and
Mm-hmm.
there's thousands of ways for the human animal to lose their life. So
Yeah. Yeah. When you talk about you gave the example of like terminal cancer, but you said there's still opportunity for healing. What do you mean by that? It's like emotional healing and maybe coming to terms with it, or
yes, yes,
okay.
and that's what I think really healing is. It's uh I use the word whole, and whole and heal are synonymous for me.
Okay. Good.
So I think that's what real healing is. So people that have if they've suffered some childhood trauma or they've suffered those wounds, uh, everybody wants to overcome that, but the reality of it is you're not. It's never going to be taken away. Right? I mean, if you suffered from childhood trauma or any trauma, I mean, that leaves a mark.
Yeah.
It has now become part of our experience, right? And we're
Yes.
really just sort of the sum of experiences. We're all these experiences that have been put together, and
Mm-hmm.
and so you can't erase any of that. I mean, I think that I think to try to undo some of that, now it's like a part of you.
It
But you
is a
can
part of you.
absolutely um, kind of make your peace with it, or see how that particularly maybe an undesirable incident has gone on to make you the person you are today. Uh, and so you can still embrace that. It's a transmutation thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can grab it and shift it a little bit and say, okay, well, because I mean, I don't know. Let's. I I honestly don't know anybody. I don't think there's anybody that hasn't carried some trauma from their childhood or their past that
Yeah.
they don't carry it with them today.
Yeah. No, I agree. I had an
That,
episode not
that's
too long
everybody.
ago. Yeah, I had an episode with Grace Lindsay the other day, and she talked about childhood trauma. And there's just so much going on in a human body or in a human psyche or in a human soul. It's just amazing. It's amazing how, you know, I guess when we talk about between the difference between curing and healing, would you agree or think that maybe curing is like physically and then healing is like more emotionally and spiritually?
Um, yeah, I would say that, but I think healing goes even deeper.
Okay.
Because it's not. There's a physical aspect of healing too. You know, and
Okay.
I I think when you kind of make the thing a whole and you integrate it,
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of reclaiming your power a little bit, right? Um,
Yeah.
as long as you have something unhealed or unresolved in your body or in your psyche, then there's always a little bit of your energy that is tied and is tethered to that moment. So you can't get past that, right? You're always sort of tied to that. But what I think healing really does is it kind of cuts that energetic tie and energetic tether to that time and lets you move forward, right? So it sort of gives you closure.
Okay. So would you just so I want to interpret what you said just for people who are not really on this journey yet and trying to follow.
Okay.
Um, when you say that you are tied to that experience that made you kind of wounded, is this like more like a trigger? Is that what you're talking about? Something that happened and it keeps coming up?
Yes.
That you okay? So
It
that's
yeah.
gonna
It
yeah
continues
okay
to live in some part. It
yeah
either
exactly
lives
yeah
in the
okay
physical body, it lives in your mind, or it lives in your
mm-hmm
physical body.
mm-hmm
Uh, and so it's yeah, it's still a living thing, and it's uh, and it will take a little bit of your it'll take a little bit of your attention, your little energy to that, right?
right. So
So
I
it's kind
guess you
of
need to figure, yeah, you need to figure out first what that is, right? So some people don't know. So I guess they would need help figuring out, what is it that's my triggers or what is it that's wounded me? And maybe people have more than one wound that they need to heal.
yeah,
You
it,
think?
it kind of stacks, right? So
Exactly.
so and I also think that if you have people that have a lot of unresolved trauma or unresolved wounds that they haven't healed, they haven't whole,
Mhm. Mhm.
they sort of walk around with this predisposition. Uh,
Mhm.
as a I don't really want to say unhealthy because I don't like to create people that way, but they walk around in an energetic vibration,
Yeah.
or I don't know what's a good word. I guess maybe I could say they're not as resilient, right? They're not as resilient because they have all these things that are going on that they haven't addressed, um, and so it just makes them, I think, a little bit more susceptible to other wounds, you know, or other triggers. I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't. It sounds like I'm trying to victim shame there, but I'm really not.
no, I know what you mean. I feel like if you're already wounded, it's just easy. It's you're easier target for other triggers to come in. I think that's kind of what I'm hearing. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like I think it's your own benefit to figure out, what it is that's triggering you and to heal that so nothing else. Well, I'm not saying nothing else, but I mean, I think it makes you a little bit more armored or not armored, but it prepares you a little bit more for all the other things coming in, right? So I mean, I don't think there's anybody on this planet right now where that has a perfect life. I mean, we all have triggers, we all have things that affect us, but I feel like if you know that you have to heal and you know what to heal, you can avoid a lot of suffering. That's just how I feel. Would you think so? Or
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think learning to heal yourself or learning to integrate those wounds and those traumas. I think it's a muscle, right?
yeah,
So the more
you
you
have
do
to.
it,
Exactly.
the better you get at it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a, and I guess we're talking about, probably emotional and spiritual healing, uh, but it really is it's sort of like the physical healing with your body and your immune system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the more you learn to kind of integrate things and not let them stick so much, or to heal those emotional issues or those emotional traumas, or the
Yeah.
more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And then I mean, I really think the goal for the human animal in this life is like, I think we should all strive to find happiness and hold on to it.
Oh, I agree 100%.
And so how do you do that? So, I mean, you can be in your 50s and still feel like whatever happened in your childhood, you can still give it that energy and power, and you can carry that in. Because I know people in their 70s that
Yeah.
still in the status of their life on what happened to them as adolescent, right?
Yeah.
That's a long time. I think that's a long time. 60 years is a long time to give energy to something.
It's a long time for suffering too. I mean, it's I always tell my friends or people that are interested, that I'm so glad I'm awake, even though it feels like being awake is sometimes more painful than being asleep, and but I'm glad I'm awake because now I know what to do about it. Does that make sense? I
Right.
can actually try to fix it and heal it, and maybe even there are some parts of my life where I'm happy or content instead of like the constant suffering. And so I would take that over anything else at all times. I mean, so that's just how I feel.
Yeah. And that's the thing to be spiritually awake is not uh, I used to think it was some exalted state or like really, it's just an awareness.
It's an awareness,
Nothing,
yes.
nothing,
Yes.
nothing really changes
That's
other than you just
no.
you just become aware of your stuff. Uh, and becoming aware of your stuff, sometimes you can become aware of other people's things that they're not aware of. It's not.
Mhm. You will stop taking things personally, or at least most of the time, because it's not you, it's their pain that they're bringing to the table. And then a lot of times you don't just heal yourself, but by not reacting to their triggers, you help them heal too, in a way. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because it's very true that 95% of the people that you meet are reacting from a wound,
Yeah,
or they're reacting from a scar, or they're reacting honestly from their experience, right?
exactly, yes.
And it has very little to do with you as a person, how
Mm-hmm.
somebody treats you. That's all. It's kind of a mirror thing. So they're
It is a mirror.
reacting to you, but it's all them. And so yes, that being awake, uh, just because I question myself sometimes now. Somebody will say something or something will happen, and my first response will be to respond in a certain way, and then I think about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Where's this coming from? And this is a so I have that choice now. Being awake and aware, I have a choice. So can I
Yes.
respond this way, or is there a better way to respond? And
Yeah,
that's
I
really,
guess that's kind of what I was. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with that when I said, I would rather take that because you have a choice now. You don't have to suffer. You can choose, you
yes.
know.
It's really not that, um, it's really not that difficult to, uh, but I think you have to be sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? So,
Yes, that's true.
um,
Yes. But it's hard for people, I think, who don't know about this community or who are not awake to find their way to it. And so it's like, how do we do that? How do we light the way for them to find us? Do you have any good ideas for that? I mean, how do we just put ourselves out there with open arms, or maybe spirit will bring them to us and, we do our best? What can we do?
so I think what's always worked for me, and I kind of set out the very beginning because I'm not, I mean, I can't. Who am I to say what somebody should and shouldn't do? That's just my view.
Mm-hmm.
But
Sure.
as I've kind of gone on my path and the things I've overcome and where I've been, is I try to share my story, right? Because I really don't think that, you know, I think we're all special and nobody's really special, right? So,
We're all unique, right?
right.
In our own ways.
But then we all
Yes.
have this huge similarity,
Yeah.
because as I met people over the years and I hear their stories about maybe the things that happened to them as a kid or the kind of life, or maybe they came from a challenging life and those challenges and how they carry that forward. It's not an uncommon story. Everybody has some commonality in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's uh it's really for me it's made me be able to look and say, okay, so like I'm no different than them, or they're not that much different than me.
No.
So yeah, I mean, I talk a lot about my experiences and my journey. 'Cause
To
I,
your clients, do you talk about that to your
yeah,
clients so they
yeah,
okay?
oh yeah, I talk about the, to every. I'm pretty much an open book on those things because I also feel like because I'm nobody special. I don't think so. I mean, if I can do these things and just you know tell somebody how I went about it or how I got from
Mm-hmm.
point A to point B,
Yeah.
um, and I mean, maybe it's valuable and worthwhile to somebody else.
Yeah.
Because and I mean, what worked for me might not work for somebody else, but then again, it might. You know,
But you know what? You can always plant a seed and then they go off on their own path. But at least you gave them an idea or a spark where they can like connect and say, you know what? I'm not alone in this.
right?
But they choose a different path, and that's okay. They just choose the path that's right for them. But they got the inspiration from you or the nudge to heal from you. So I think that's what makes you and healers so important, to be out there and just to be open and to shine a light on people's path and triggers and on their healing. So once again, thank you for doing what you're doing, Jim.
Oh, well, it's I enjoy it, right? So
Yeah.
you know, as you were talking there, I had a thought that I think it'd be good to point out. Maybe one distinction between healing and curing. Curing would be something that comes from outside, but healing, I tell folks healers don't really heal you, right? It's not. If I see a client at a show or a client comes to see me, it's not me. It's like you have to do the work. The client has to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So real
Mm-hmm.
healing is they put in the work.
Yeah.
We as healers just sort of create a container and a bubble for that to happen. You know,
But that's important. I mean, this is where they start. This is where they see the light. And so you're doing great work. I mean, I know you, and I know people talk about you all the time, how great you are, and people come to the events just to see you. So you are creating and you're doing something that's extremely important. And so um, I know I'm channeling spirit sometimes, and I hear spirit coming in right now. And what they have for you is like, thank you for doing the work. And they realize that it's been a tough road for you as well, but what I'm hearing is, and that's a message for you, and I hope you're okay with it, that I give you that message from spirit, but it's like it was your initiation and you graduated to something really special. So, but they're thanking you for taking on the work and the path.
Ah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, yeah, you know, like when I started on this path, it's just the old adage, I just put one foot in front of the other, and like, half the time I don't really know where I'm going. I just go this direction or that direction. But when I
Yeah.
look back at it, it's been fun. If you had told me 20 years ago this is where I would be, I would have said, oh yeah, no, probably not. But
Yeah.
here I am. So
You're. But that's a good one. I really like the definition you gave. Curing is from the outside, healing is from the inside. And I like that. I guess that's the difference. But I mean, there's just so much more that goes into it. And I know, I remember, well, I shouldn't say I remember, but I know from experience working events that a lot of times when people come there, especially if it's their first time, they always think that people who work there, like the readers and the healers, that there are these greatest gurus and they have it all figured out, you know. And I always tell my clients too when they come to my table, it's like, no, we've been there. We've been through hell and back, you know. We don't, I mean, we're just trying. Maybe we are a little bit further advanced, but we put in the work. But, you know, we're not these gurus who have it all figured out. It's just that spirit makes us go down this path and it's a painful path and we'll just go through it and we just do it, you know. And so, you know, I think that sometimes clients see their healers or readers as some big magical person, but I always tell them that's not what it is. It's not at all what it is. We're just trying over here, you know. And yeah, we've been there and done it, I guess.
yeah, absolutely. One of the first shows I went to, I looked around. I kind of had the expectation everybody was sort of an expert,
Yes.
and this is what they did. They traveled the country doing these things and sharing their expertise.
Yeah.
And it was shortly after that I learned that everybody was doing this as like a part time gig.
Yeah.
They had square jobs working in an office or whatever, and I was
Mhm.
like, oh wow,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, it's that as human beings, no human beings infallible, right?
Yes.
Um, like I worked a lot on trying to open up a heart space, and I think my heart space is as open now as it's ever been, but I could still grow more in that area, right?
Yeah.
So, uh,
I don't think we stop growing, and I don't think we're meant to stop growing or learning.
no, no, and we're still human, right? So,
We're still human.
um, and
It,
I think that's important to remember that and to
yeah.
embrace that humanness,
Yep. Yep.
because I don't, um, yeah, I don't think anybody's anybody in a human form is not an exalted being, right? You know,
No.
some of the Eastern religions have, the gurus, but they're still human. At the end
We're
of the
still
day, they're still
human.
human. They're having a human life, and it's going to be.
We have human experiences and human um, meet other humans on a daily basis, and you know meet with their triggers and every time for me at least, every time I think I figured something out, you know, and I'm finally past it, then spirit and universe are like, I don't think so. Let me show you something else, you know. And I'm like, dang it! It's just it never ends. It never ends,
Yeah,
and I think healing, like you said, is just embracing all of it. You know, you heal and you embrace that this
all of it.
is that's part of you. It's part of who you are.
Yes, and you have to embrace those imperfect parts. The catchphrase is always shadow work. Everybody wants to talk about shadow work, but when I when I read what people write, or I sort of read the words that are used to describe shadow work, it's great because they talk about overcoming challenges and getting the freedom to move forward and this and this and that. And I mean, I worked in my shadow a lot. It's still there, right? I mean,
It
I
doesn't
didn't.
go anywhere.
Yeah, I didn't hit it with white spray paint, right? Like I didn't erase
No.
it. It's
Mm-mm.
still there.
It's still
But it's
there.
what we talked about earlier. It's just that awareness, you know,
Exactly.
because uh, you know, like I said, you can't take the shadow out, but you can become aware of the shadow. And then as you do that, now you empower yourself. It gives you that choice. Now it's a choice.
Yes.
And
Yes.
most days I try to choose the higher road, but some days I just feel very strongly, and I just let my shadow like take it from there
So-
because whatever, right, whatever the situation, I think the shadow has the right response with that. So just
it's part of you. Exactly. It's exactly it.
and see, and that's what I mean about healing and holding, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is so you sort of embrace all those outside parts. Like I absolutely love being an imperfect, messy human.
I think that's what we came here to be and just figure it out,
That's
as
exactly
a
what we
soul.
came here to be.
Yeah. And figure it out with the amnesia and blindfolded. And we're just making our way through life, figuring things out.
Right, and once you kind of have that realization, because I tend to think of us as luminous beings, right? So we're kind of light and vibration and color. Uh, that's what we are, and we happen to be caught in a very material bag of meat for the time
Yeah.
being, right? So we can't ever really tap our true nature, but uh, we're supposed to go through these challenges, right? We're supposed to have these challenges. We're supposed to have these trials, right? I think it's a learning curve, right? That's the point to having a life, a physical manifested earth life. So, um, when you start looking at it from that way, I mean, all this is anything that happens is that's the whole point of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yes.
it's it's not that that we have wounds as children that we have to carry forward. That we're all going to have wounds as children.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. So I don't think it's a shift, right? It's not the fact that the wounding happened or the injury happened, but it's what you do with it and how you move forward from it.
Yes. Yes.
It's how you heal from it and how you recover.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know, I, and I also think the older we get, the more resilient we get, right? Because we've all seen some things and we've gotten past it the best way we can get past it. And so, I know for me, what seemed very monumental in my 20s
Yeah.
doesn't seem like a big deal in
It's
my 50s, right?
like child's play.
Yeah, yeah, like yeah. So
I
so
like to
now
go
I get
back to those problems.
yeah. Is it really worth it? I mean,
Yeah.
do I really need to be offended? Do I really need to uh, respond in an emotional way to this, or is it that big a deal? Really?
Or maybe we just old and beaten down. We're just like, I don't
Yeah,
care no more. It's like,
you know,
whatever.
I think it's wisdom, right? I think
It's
that
wisdom. That's exactly it.
I like
But
to
I feel,
define wisdom as the practical application of knowledge, right?
yeah. I think awareness is also when you finally realize that life is not happening to you, but you have a way of, that's like having, when you said you have a choice. Life is not happening to you. You just need to step out of that victim mentality and say, I can do something about this and I can change it. And I'm making a choice and I'm aware of what I'm doing now.
Yes, yeah, it absolutely awareness puts you in the driver's seat.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, for me, I would say, before I started this awakening process, I was in the car. I don't even think I was in the front seat. You know,
Yeah.
I was kind of in the back seat, and I felt like life was happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't figure out why I couldn't catch a break.
Yeah.
And then when I started my awakening process, I moved from the back seat to the front seat. I still wasn't driving yet, but I'm in the front seat. And I realized, okay, so maybe some of these things that are happening is just a consequence of a decision I made, or uh, more often than not, it was a consequence of me not being mindful and being
Mm-hmm.
impeccable
Mm-hmm.
in my life. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't, impeccability. That's been a theme. I've been contemplating impeccability for the last 3 weeks or a month. But I think it's just like a heightened state of mindfulness where you're aware that uh, kind of that co-creatorship. So
Yes.
if we're very invested in our life, then we are absolutely the architects of that.
Exactly.
Within reason. I'm not,
Within reason, of course. Of course.
yeah. I think it's a little bit delusional to say that I can set out and burn some candles and manifest, $3 billion, and
Yeah. That would be nice, wouldn't it?
yeah, yeah, in one way, but but I think sort of coming along with that awakening and awareness, I realized that that's not the answer. But for some people, money is the answer for them, right?
Hmm.
Um, or they
Do you
want
think,
wealth, or they
yeah,
want status, or they think they want these things, and it's going to make their life better. But
yeah.
I don't know.
Do you think people refuse to heal? Maybe some people, I think that some people know that they need to heal, but they refuse to heal because it makes them take accountability for their own lives.
Yeah, there's some responsibility that comes with healing. Um,
Right.
yeah, there's some, because it's not.
Because I
Yeah,
think once you understand, or you embrace that life is not happening to you, but you actually have to do something about it, then it's like, wait a minute.
mhm.
Now I can't be the victim anymore. Now I actually have to step up and do the work. And I think some people know that, but and they refuse to heal because the victim mentality or the victim stage they're in is comfortable. It's what they know.
It's a very easy space to twirl in,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because it's always somebody else's fault, or or
Right.
somebody, maybe somebody didn't treat them fairly, and so they didn't get the break they needed, or whatever. Yeah, it's a comfortable place to swirl, but it's also just a swirl, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing ever changes. It's always the same thing
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
over and over,
Exactly.
on rinse and repeat. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but that kind of touches on that impeccability. If I can't, at this point in my life, I can't say that if somebody were to promise me something, or whatever, for example, let's say, and then not deliver on it, uh, eh, I would feel responsible because I put all my eggs in one basket, or on somebody that I knew maybe was a leaky vessel, and I piled all
Mm-hmm.
my hopes on a leaky vessel.
Mm-hmm.
So then I would say to myself, well, maybe I should have found some other avenues, or maybe I should have came up with a plan B. Right? But I would not
Yeah.
feel like somebody betrayed me and then put me in a situation where that was going to affect me. Does that make sense?
Yes, it
So
does.
to be
It does.
responsible and impeccable for your own life, you just don't put
Mm-hmm.
yourself in a situation
Yeah.
where you don't give your power away to somebody. You don't give away that much influence in your life to somebody
Yeah.
else.
Man, that's a strong statement. And what comes to my mind right away is, that's I think that's why so many people are in toxic relationships because the pain and the suffering that they experience in that relationship is familiar. And even though it's painful, but they know how to handle it. They don't know how to handle something that's actually good, because they've never experienced that and they don't know what to do with it. And maybe being unhealed, I don't know how to put this into words, but they don't know any other way of being, or they're afraid of being in a different way because it's unfamiliar to them, you know? So healing is so important to do.
Yes, especially because I was very codependent when I was young, you know,
Mhm.
and my partner was too, and,
Yeah.
and so here our life is in chaos, and each one is constantly blaming the other one, you know, uh, and yet we didn't take those steps to
Mm-mm.
it. It became very antagonistic, where we would fuss at each other about all the ways that we let the other one down, but nowhere in that did anybody step forward and say, you know what, I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna take responsibility for my life. Um, and that works very good in a relationship if you have two very strong, responsible people, and then you can work together. But yeah, if,
Yeah.
if you sort of have these unhealed wounds, or and I don't know, I don't know all the ways, or what makes somebody codependent. I think a lot for us was youth. You know, we
Yeah.
just kind of, and I know I came from that generation. My mom was a homemaker, which is a career, right? And
Absolutely.
so I sort of had that worldview that wives would do these things and then husbands would do
Mhm.
these things.
Mhm.
And so when you split it like that, this is your half, this is my half, and then if somebody has a bad day, you got all this space in the middle that doesn't get
Yeah.
covered up.
Yeah.
And
You're Gen X, right?
hmm,
You're Gen X?
yes,
Yes. So I think I am too. So I don't think we were given the tools to really grow up healthy, I guess. I mean, at least I don't think so. Not me. I mean, it goes back to the programming, that we receive from our parents. They didn't know any better, or and then their parents didn't know any better, and it was just something of a program that they follow, and you just kind of like go along with it until one of us in our family, in our bloodline, steps out and says no more, and that's usually the healer, the black sheep of the family who steps out and says, okay, this is it, this is enough, I'm done with this. And then you heal your coming generations from the same pattern, you know and maybe going forward we're giving our kids and grandkids the tools to do that, but it's a process.
yes. I think Generation X is I feel very blessed to be part of that.
Yeah, me too.
And then for me, my mom and dad were actually born prior to the Great Depression, so I
Oh.
was yeah. So I had change of life parents, and uh, so I always felt like I fit in this really weird place. Like I've growing up, and all my schoolmates are Generation X,
Mm-hmm.
but my value system was very much in alignment with the baby boomers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I always sort of felt like this weird kind of disconnect. Like but and it's always been that way. I've always gravitated. Uh, I have better conversations and relationships with people that are 20 years older than me because that's like I was raised with those values, and yet here I am in
Right.
Generation X, and so I got some of the generational values too, right? Like my
Mm-hmm.
parents thought that what the government, if the government told you something, then that's just how it was, and trust the institution, trust the establishment, they'll take care of you. Well, that was their experience, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
establishment got them through
No,
the
I
Great
mean,
Depression, it got them through two world wars. It took care of its people.
that is no joke. I remember, I mean, my grandmother raised me and my cousins because our parents were at work. I was never in daycare or anything, but I remember my grandmother always telling us, well, if a doctor tells you something, you don't speak up. It was always those figures of authority that you're not allowed to speak up against. So if the doctor tells you something, you do it, or if the lawyer tells you something, you do it. So it's always been that way, and it took a long time for me at least, to when I go to the doctor and I feel like something is off, to question, to say, wait a minute, are you sure? Or even get a second opinion, because that was a no. You don't do that, you know?
Right? Yeah, absolutely. And I remember my parents wanted me to go to college and get a college degree because then I would be like bona fide. I become a subject matter expert in something, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But some of those generational values, the Gen X values, we my siblings are quite a bit older, and some of them are still very much, well, if they or a professional tells you a certain thing, then you have to go with that.
Yep.
And then my Generation X self comes along, and we're rebelling against the establishment, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
thank Richard Nixon for that. Here in the United States, like between Richard Nixon and the Vietnam War, like we just like, no, we can't trust these people.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a very weird place to have that sort of very traditional um, set of values, and then have this little rebellious streak that's like, I want to do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I know when I see doctors and physicians and lawyers, it's kind of interesting. But you
Mm-hmm.
have this, I'm like, no, look, so the way this is going to go, I'm going to do this, or I'm just not going to come back.
Exactly. Exactly. Thanks for your advice, but let me just
Yeah,
figure it out too, and we'll see.
yeah, you know, so as I build a relationship now, I go in there, and the doctors are much younger than they used to be, right?
Hmm. It's
So,
like, are you 12 or what? Are you even out of school yet? Like, oh my gosh.
yeah, you know, and that's a perception thing because when I was young, they were always
Ex-
older, and now I'm old
I
and they're
know.
younger, and I'm like,
Exactly. That's what it is.
so
Oh,
you know,
it's
I kind
funny.
of start the thing. Well, hey doc, so what I was wanting to do, I need
Yeah.
you to write me a prescription for this, or I want to try this. How do we make that happen? You know?
I've told doctors like, "Hey, a couple of years ago I had this, and this is the prescription I got, and it really worked. Can you give me that again?" And he's like, "No," you know. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's just, yeah, you do that stuff. It's
Yeah,
funny. Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah, I feel like, I'm really impressed with a lot of today's youth because I feel like they're much more aware of those things than we were. And I don't know where they got it from. I hope from their parents like us, but they're more into this and more aware of their triggers and what they like and what they dislike, and whether or not they want to go down a certain path, or if they want to embrace something or not. So I feel like they're much better equipped than we were, and I'm glad things are changing. I'm really happy to see that.
yeah. So I noticed that some years ago, right? I really think the kids being born now, you know, I don't lean into a whole lot of narratives, but sort of all that talk from some years ago about indigo children and crystal children
Mhm.
and incarnation. Like I really resonate with that because,
Mhm.
but even so, coming in, like I don't see how it's all going to play out because they're coming in with a lot of awareness. Um, but you know, maybe just a grouchy old fart. I feel like they're not coming in with a lot of common sense, or maybe they don't know how they have an awareness, and they will absolutely call out other generations and their,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know, and their unawareness. They'll call that out, but yet
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so you still have to, at the end of the day, you still have to walk with very practical feet in a system that nobody nobody will tell you the system is perfect. I Nobody will admit there's not room for improvement in our governments and our society. And, but yet, you know, how do these younger kids? How does this generation change it? You know,
Yeah.
I think they feel very much, but I'm not sure that they're equipped to put into application change. So it would be interesting. I'd be curious. I won't be here, but I'd be curious to see what happens. You know, in 100 years or 150 years.
Yeah. Well, you may be in a different lifetime, so
Well,
no, you're not reincarnating.
I don't know. Like it's been real fun, but
You
yeah. I
had it
mean,
for a while.
I I might, but I don't know. I feel like this was a good fit this time. You know,
Mhm.
I came in at a great time. You know, I came in Vietnam War, music revolution. I came in at a great time. I don't know that I would have had as much fun being a child. You
These
know,
days,
in the last decade or two, I don't think it would have been as good for me.
I think social media is really hurting them a lot. I think because of what they see and what they're exposed to, and the reach that they have. And of course, we're probably going down a rabbit hole with that. But I mean, they're just so exposed to all the dangers too, because I guess bad people are still out there, and I don't know. It's just,
You know, so that makes the whole challenge of healing or
yeah,
integration or embracing yourself. Social media is just it's a huge distraction
it is.
because
It is.
it's great in a way because you can connect with people worldwide, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's horrible in a way because now you're connected to this huge thing, right? So you know, kind of like the media, or it's another programming tool, you know, TikTok, Instagram. I mean, let's face it, right? People's persona on TikTok and Instagram, I promise, is not their day to day persona.
No.
Um, it's not. It, it's it's a very nice distraction to look at these things. Um, it's also, I feel, not really rooted in reality. Right?
Oh no, of course not.
And
And I feel like the generation these days, they put so much emphasis on how many likes and comments they get. It's almost, I mean, it's almost like I feel like they're addicted to that, and it's really means nothing. And I feel like that ties into the healing. I think that is very detrimental to their soul and their being. At least that's how I feel, you know?
yes, yeah, um, you know, I'm thinking, I don't know how to
Yeah,
put this.
you
I'm kind of out there. I'm trying to put this well. I think a lot of people in a, to tie it back to, healing or that kind of wholeness and that integration. Um, I want to tie it back to authenticity, um,
thank
and
you.
identity. You
Thank
know,
you.
so I think, in the course of my spiritual path, I feel like, looking back at it 20 years, I think I was trying to find my identity
Mhm.
spiritually, emotionally. There was a time I identified, as a parent because I had kids, or I identified by my occupation. There's still a lot of people who do that. So it took a long time for me to realize that I'm not my job. I'm not the things that I do for money. Um, I'm so much more than a parent. Um, and so I sort of had to go inside and to find all these things, and I had to figure out what I was. I had to sample a lot of things and figure out that I'm not this, I'm not that. And then in the course of figuring out what I wasn't, like a vague shape started to appear, and I was like, well, let's dive in there. What's that? That's starting to look like something.
Mhm. Mhm.
And and so I think now with social media, with society, the economic, political challenges, everything is just so fractured. And
Yeah.
so kids coming in now, I think, have a huge obstacle to overcome to figure out what their identity is. And
Wow. Yes, that's
and
profound.
so all these sort of distractions are coming in. I don't. It's always thin ice when I talk about the trans topic, because I'm generationally, I don't really understand a lot of that. I mean, I'm rooting for everybody, right?
Right, of course.
And I can't say what makes them happy or what they are.
Mhm. Of course.
But from the outside looking in, I see this as just another symptom of that sort of fractured identity, right? That
Mm.
fractured self-image. And I don't know. I don't know where it goes. I don't know how they overcome
Yeah.
that.
I've been wondering, I know we're talking about healing, and I was always hoping, and I still feel like we're going in the right direction, like as a society. I mean, at least healers like us who are out there, we're trying, and we're trying to educate. And that's really the reason why I do this podcast. I would like to have information out there to more spread it a lot more and put the awareness out there. But sometimes when I see these kids and when you talk about, their identity and them trying to figure out who they are, I'm almost afraid that we're going a few steps backwards. And I don't know, I'm trying to think how we can counter that. I mean, what can we do as healers or light workers to make sure we're keep moving forward instead of like backwards, and we're taking society with us?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't
Because
know that it's really for us to direct that.
hmm,
I sort of feel like I absolutely feel like, human beings are going through an
yes,
evolution or revolution. I don't know.
okay.
Um,
Do you feel like we're not look, or maybe what I described, maybe I'm not looking at it from the right angle then. Maybe I'm not looking at it for what it is, like maybe a shift or an evolution. Maybe we just need to let them go and be themselves and figure it out.
Yeah, this is a. I mean, I sort of I feel like everything's in turmoil now. You know,
Hmm.
I mean, we
Right.
talked before about having a spiritual identity here in the United States, and I think the
True.
United States is sort of spiritually sick and doesn't have an identity.
Hmm.
But if we look at how societies are structured all over the planet, uh, what's going on here now with sort of the rich being in charge and the 1% holding the wealth of the planet, this is everywhere.
Yeah,
Um,
it is everywhere. That's correct. Yes.
this is everywhere. We're starting to see. You, I remember when I was a kid, it was talked about in school that about India having a caste system. That
Yes, I remember learning that. That's wild. Yes.
you were born into this and you couldn't
Yes.
overcome it. And we
And you
all
could
thought,
not
oh
come out. Yep.
my
You
God,
can
how
marry.
terrible that is, right? Like who would want
Yes.
to do that? Uh, but don't you think there's a caste system now uh,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
worldwide? So
Yes.
and the caste is you either have wealth or you don't have wealth,
Yes.
and so that is the caste now.
Yep.
Uh, I've seen imagery people in Africa, huge towns, and so these towns are constructed from shipping containers. They have people living in pallets with sleep like they take pallets that you would put product on, and they
Yeah.
build walls and a roof with a tarp.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how people are living it, and they still work, but this is
Yeah.
what they can afford,
Yeah.
and uh, nowhere is anyone trying to raise them up. Right?
Yeah.
This is sort of their lot, and this is not India. They weren't born into this. This is just economically what they have the best they can do, and it seems like we just overlook those things, and
Yeah.
I don't know how it is in Europe, but I know shortly after the Soviet Union fell, and I made some friends in Romania, and I was talking to them through a chat room or messenger.
Mm-hmm.
It was great because I met people all over the world, and we chatted. Nobody ever talked about politics. So the human condition was, they wanted to be as comfortable and happy as they could. And they wanted better opportunities for their kids than they had. And so my Romanian friends, I asked them, I said, so, do you miss the Soviet Union? They missed the Soviet Union. And I said, why?
Really?
I said,
Wow.
why is that? They said, we didn't have anything, but we had food. They said, now we don't have anything and we don't eat.
My gosh. Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's an interesting take, And this was
Mm-hmm.
maybe 8 or 10 years ago. This was not that long ago.
Right.
Um, I read some years ago. I read a 47-page report on human trafficking that the United Nations put out.
Mm-hmm.
The average cost of a human slave is $80 US.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and so they listed countries like Romania, Colombia, uh,
Mm-hmm.
as being the major offenders. And so what happens with that is, let's say a factory in China needs workers, so they contract with somebody, uh, European country, for 150 workers. So they're shipped there, right? Shipped
Mm-hmm.
there oftentimes in a container, uh, and then they have to work. And so they sleep on the floor and they work whatever hours they're told to work. They can't flee the country because they don't have a passport,
Yeah.
so they can't get out. And this is happening. This is happening everywhere. $80, and the way it works is apparently in European countries, if let's say I owe somebody some money and I die, over here in the United States that debt evaporates, but not in Europe.
No, it
There's a,
doesn't.
there's a tradition. Okay, so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
your father died. Now you owe the
Mm-hmm.
money,
Mm-hmm.
and
It's
in
exactly
this
how it is.
report it says the average education level for folks over there is fifth grade, equivalent to fifth grade for here, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
don't have enough knowledge of the legal system to be able to say, well, you can't do that. You can't come in and take my home. You can't.
Yeah.
So they voluntarily enter into these work agreements to pay off this money that may or may not ever be a legal debt. It's,
Yeah.
somebody just says your grandfather owed
Exactly.
me money.
It's fear. It's fear.
Yeah,
you know?
that's yeah. This is
Yeah,
what's going on.
it's
This is what's going on in the world.
this is what's going on in the world. Yeah, and when we talk about healing, I think that healing, my gosh, we have our work cut out, and I really hope that spirit wakes up more healers and light workers because we need more of you guys and us and um we have a lot of work to do. It's not just healing the people that come to you, but also send out the healing vibration to the rest of the world. And we may not be able to reach that far physically, but I mean, we can do what we can to create a ripple effect.
I think we have to sort of shine that light of awareness on these things, right? Like,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I think we have to shine a light at it.
Yeah. Yes. I
Maybe
guess that's
maybe
the
that maybe that's
awareness.
right. Maybe that's
Yeah.
all we can do. You know,
But it is something. It is
right?
something. We
Maybe
do
that's the whole
something.
point of us having some awareness or going,
Yeah.
being awake is so now we're behind the spotlight, and so we can shine things.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, I was astounded when I read that United Nations report. How is this not being talked about? You know,
Because it doesn't make any money. At least
um,
not for the rich people. It's not,
yeah, yeah, somebody,
you know what
somebody,
I mean?
it's a rich person somewhere that's profiting from that, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, you're
Uh,
right. You're right.
and I just there's enough resources out here that everybody can succeed.
Yeah. I
Everybody can
agree.
be successful.
I agree.
Uh,
Yeah.
you know, relatively. I mean, you know, I think I feel very successful because I have a roof over my head. I have everything that I need, and I have enough that I can get the things that I want. I don't want for much, but if I do have a want, then I'm blessed enough I can get that.
Hmm.
So that's it. I don't need $1 million. Who would want that? I mean, it's just
I mean, I would take it if somebody would force me and, twist my
yeah,
arm, but
yeah.
yeah, no, but it wouldn't fill the void that people have. They may think that's what it does, but it's a temporary effect because again, they're not healed. So
Exactly.
nothing will make you happy. Maybe for a while. It's like a pacifier. It will kind of calm you down for a tiny bit, but then your wounds will come back no matter how rich you are or where you live.
Yeah. So a lot of times those spiritual wounds are like they're like a black hole. You know,
Yeah.
they're like a black hole in our spirit or in our soul, and we try to fill it up and we throw things in there,
Mm-hmm.
thinking eventually we'll throw it up in
Exactly.
there and it
It'll
will
fill
fill
up.
up and it goes in and it's never to be
Mm-hmm.
seen again.
I guess the only way to heal it is to close that wound, to heal it. And
What?
that's
Yes.
that's the bottom line. You have to heal it so you
Yeah.
don't keep throwing stuff in it.
Yeah. And it's yeah. But I do think the more we've talked about it, I think healing is going to come from within, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Maybe the Buddhists are onto something about eradicating desire, you know, eradicating expectations, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
maybe desire and expectation maybe those are directional pointers to wounds, right? So
Yeah. Well, humanity has a lot of work to do, but I'm really glad that, like I said, I'm glad I'm awake. I'm glad you are awake. And I know a lot of healers and readers out there. And I know we're doing the work, or at least we're trying most of the time. Um, I guess all we can do is put more light out there, shine the light on things that need to, the light that we need to have awareness on it. And we'll just keep doing that.
yeah, how's that saying go? If you know better, do better.
Yeah, I think Maya Angelou said
Yeah,
that.
I I,
Do
I
the
think
best
that's
you can. Do the best you can with what you know, but once you know better, you do better. That's a good one. I really like that.
yeah,
So
that's those are 4 words I can put stock in.
yeah, yeah,
It sums up a
exactly.
very complex topic very
It
simply.
is. It is. It is. But I did
So
blend in your email on the bottom, and if somebody wants to contact you, they can get a
okay,
hold
yeah,
of you with your email. And for anybody out there, I know Jim. He's a wonderful, wonderful healer. I mean, you will not regret getting a session from him. And like I said in the beginning, he will be back every 3 weeks with his wisdom. And we will see him again in about 3 weeks. But if you need to get a hold of him and talk to him or schedule a session, email him and he will reach out to you. All
all
righty.
right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.